So now we got the recording going. So let me go back to the screen again. Okay, so like I was saying, if you go to the quizzes here, you can see the practice quiz. It should give you a little bit of a feel for what type of questions are out there. If you have any questions about the answers for this, just let me know. You can post to Piazza, send us emails, whatever. The other thing that people were asking were about the recorded videos, which I'm recording this session right now, and the other ones that are out there. So if you go out to down here where it says the media gallery, give it a second there, going a little bit slow. Yeah, so you can see in the media gallery, we have these videos posted up. It's also in the announcements. If you go to the old announcements, you'll see it there too. But I think it's easy enough just to go to my media or the media gallery, I should say, the media gallery, and you'll see the videos that we've uploaded. I think the TAs have also been uploading their videos also. So let me know if you're missing any or any topics. I mean, some of the other instructors are also posting on the same topics. So if you feel like you want to take a look at those, you're more than welcome to. And actually, I did post an announcement, but just to announce again, I think there was some confusion. I went over 2D arrays or nested arrays. That's not something that is required for this class. So apologies for the confusion. I covered that topic, but it's not required for your exam. So don't worry too much about it. On the Excel stuff, we'll cover a couple of different things, and it'll be a whole bunch of different functions and whatnot. But I think we'll try to keep to the core functions and work off of that for the exams. Up here, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this in terms of what we're trying to do for the exam 2 policy. So it has a breakdown on the format, how we're going to cover that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some shifts between the TAs, myself, the other professors to administer the exam. So we'll have like our WebEx rooms open, and then when people have some questions or whatever pertinent to the exam, they can jump into one of those WebEx rooms. Let's see here. I think we also posted like all the rooms for everybody, and that should be pinned to the top of Piazza. But in case not, you can go to Files on Canvas, and under Course Information, there should be the virtual locations here. All right, so you can see everybody's virtual rooms that are set up with the people that's covering those. So you can go ahead and look at that. The other thing we set up for our section here, I forgot whether I covered in the last lecture or not, but you also have the Google Sheet. Notice a lot of people seem to have questions on assignment 7. And the different TAs will be reaching out to follow up on email and whatnot. For myself also, I'm available to help out. I think a couple people want to stay after the lecture to follow up on a couple of things, which I can do. If you want to do more of a one-on-one type of session, I can also do that. We just schedule specific times on WebEx to cover that. So that's up to you guys. Okay. So I think that covers everything administratively. I'm trying to think. So that covers our lectures, the recordings, the WebEx rooms, the announcements, the Google Sheets if you have questions. I think that covers everything there. So let me go back to the lecture section. Okay, So on the virtual rooms, you just go to where the files is in Canvas, and where it says like the course information, and then where it says the recitation's virtual locations. You can do that. And it's just for reference. Actually, you should probably reach out to the individual TAs or lecturers, and we'll schedule the room. It's not like they're sitting in those rooms all the time. But those rooms will be available on those time slots, or should be. But it's safe to double check with whoever, the TA or the lecturer, and they'll make themselves available on WebEx for you. Okay. So let me go back to the presentation for today. So first thing I like to start off with is just to kind of go through what we thought were the learning targets for Excel. So like I said last time, this is going to be a topic that spans over 2 weeks or a couple weeks. So, we're just doing the basic intro for this week, and then we'll be doing some other stuff with pivot tables and just tables in general for next week. I think we're supposed to kind of do more of the VLOOKUP next week also, but I covered some of the VLOOKUP in the last lecture, and I'll cover it again in this lecture too. So we talked about a number of these things. You guys can let me know if you're not clear on them. We were talking about the formulas, functions, relative and absolute cell references, range names, basic arithmetic operations, which I'll cover a bit of that. We have sums and averages and all that. That's going to come up in your assignment, all of these things. Your first Excel assignment is going to pick up on these things here. I'm going to do a little bit about like the if statements, the VLOOKUP. We'll run through like the PMT function. There's other types of statistical functions, which I think we're going to probably pick up more of next week. We're going to do a bit of charts today. So you have the different chart types, how you're going to put the source in there, the different chart layouts, chart styles. We did the cell formatting. Got the scenario manager. The scenario manager, that's going to be next week also. Okay. Yeah, pivot tables, just regular tables, all of that is going to be covered for next week. So I think that pretty much, just to reiterate what is the learning targets for Excel, which is going to span a couple weeks. Okay. So we went through this part for the last lecture. So let me count down to here. So you have these various count functions, which I did a demo of that for last lecture. I'm going to do that again for this lecture because especially when we're looking at doing different types of graphs and whatnot, you want to examine the data and maybe do some counting. You want to do some grouping, whatnot. So you'll see a couple of that come up here. Some counting examples here. Again, I'm going to do like a live sheet of this, and I'll upload that sample data sheet up into my my lectures section. Okay, so we did this in last class too, where on a line-by-line basis, you can check the cell. If it meets a certain criteria, then you have a true and a false here. Okay, so in this case, we're looking for things where it totaled greater than $50. When it was greater than $50, you charge this much for shipping, $10, or you would charge $5 for shipping. Right, and then we also have Booleans, which is up here. Right, so in the and, you basically take all of these and treat it like you do with the other ands that you saw earlier in the class. And then not is basically flipping whatever this is. If this is true, then it becomes false, and vice versa. All right, so we're here with the charts. I'm going to do a chart example for you in a second. So basically it's just a pie chart, kind of divides everything up into 100%. Another example of the pie chart, which I think we could use that nutrition example from last week. Bar charts. Okay. All right, we did some formatting from last week. So you had the accounting, which was putting the dollar signs there. You had the styles, and then we had the merging and centering function. And I'll go back to a sheet and show that to you in a second. We had sorting of data. Okay. This is relative versus absolute. These are functions. Functions. All right, this is the VLOOKUP section here and the PMT function. Okay. All right, so don't worry that, we just went through this pretty quickly because I'm going to try to do all of these inside of the live Excel example. So let me just flip this sharing session. I'm going to flip over to the Excel sheet now. Here. All right. So there's a couple of things I want to show you with these examples. I kind of staged up some of the data. So let's see what we can do here. Okay. So there's one bit right here. You can see Sunday and Monday. And we talked about how you can drag and drop things. So you can have certain formulas that you can drag and drop it. But in this case, we're kind of going to do like some days here. So ideally, you want to be able to, or Excel is going to be able to increment the days here. So you just drag this down, and you can notice at the where the cursor is, you can see like Tuesday or whatever as I drag it through. So if I let go of it, then you can see what happens here, Sunday, Monday, all the way through. Okay, so that's a very basic type of thing. When I upload this sheet, you guys can get a copy of it. You can do the same thing, or you do it on your own sheet. That's fine. So I'm just going to clear this out here. I just want to show you that. Okay. So the other thing I want to show you, I kind of worked off of like a couple of the examples that you had in the textbook. So one of them was working off a time zone, and one of them was working off a pizza discount. So let me do the time zone thing first. So I think what they intended with the time zone thing was just kind of showing you how to organize some data and kind of show you going from one time zone to another time zone. But I wanted to use the time zone example really just to kind of play around with some formulas, just to kind of see how you guys might use this in a practical way. So, if you kind of looked at it as a brute force way, you would say, oh, okay, let me list out all 24 hours for a time zone, and then I'll go to the next one, and I'll shift it over by 1 hour and do the same thing and type all of that and do the same thing over here. Okay, so yeah, okay, that gets the job done. And you can do that for all 24 zones if you want. But I think what I want to demonstrate here was you be able to do this with basically doing a couple formulas and then dragging it and dropping it through. So what I did right here is I set up a time zone 1, 2, and 3. And then you can see here, I just put the numbers in, okay? And then I said AM and PM here. So that covers all 24 hours, okay? And what I did here, you can see I just did a little bit of manipulation here. And the reason why I had to do some manipulation here is because it's not just a straight taking of this cell and -1 to come to here. Because you have to think about when the things rolls over from 11 to 12, from 12 to 1, I mean, or I should say 11 to 12 with the AM and the PM. So you have to kind of put in a couple of bits of logic there. And you can see I did the same thing here with the AM and PM. I kind of set that here. Okay, so everything's kind of driven off of that. So you can see here, I could say if C3, which is this one here, minus 1 equals to 0, right? So here I'm using the if clause, or the if function, I should say. C3 minus 1 equals to 0. Then I'm going to make it 12. Okay. In another case, I would just say C3 minus 1. Right? So what I'm trying to account for is the case when, like I was saying, the 11 to 12, the flipping of AM and PM. So let's see. Let me clear all this out here, actually. So let me do the basic scenario. If I'm going to say equals this minus 1, all right? So you can see that became 0. Okay, so I went from the 1 a.m. to midnight. And let me drag this down to here. Okay, so you can see what happened here. Most of the numbers look kind of all right. But you can just see these points here where it became 0. Right, so 2 a.m. to 1 a.m., that's fine, and so on. Right, and then this over to here, 12 to 11, that's fine too, right? And notice I had this formula here for the AM. Right? I have to account for the AM and PM rolling over here, okay? So you can see if I just do the regular way, I actually get most of the numbers kind of right. But this is where I see the issue here. And so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to do equals this, well, actually if this minus 1, okay, equals to 0, then I want to make that 12, else, and I'm just going to say C3 minus 1. Okay, and then I'm going to close paren on it. All right, so that works out all right. So I'm just going to drag this all the way down, just like so. Okay, so that's how I got these numbers to line up and account for the case where it went down to 0. I just had to make that to be 12. That's part of it rolling over. Okay, now on this, the AM, how do I set that? So in this case, I went over to if, and I said if E3 equals to 11, so I'm trying to check over here, then I do some logic to either copy over from here or copy over from the next cell up. So here, in this case, E3 is equal to 11, that's false. So that means I ended up using the D3, which is this AM here. Okay. So basically, I'm looking over for the 11. Whenever the 11 happens, which is over here, so if E14, which is this, equals to 11, then I'm going to go to the D13, right? This is the true part here, right? And then I'm basically, you see where this AM and PM rolled over. So this is how I set that to make sure this is right. Okay, that's the only time that I have to do anything like that. All right, so not to spend too much time on this, but basically that's how I was able to make the reference to be able to shift over 1 hour for every time zone. So basically I can copy these formulas and you'll see the same formulas here. over to here. So I didn't type all of these things in. All I did was type in a couple of formulas, and then I dragged them all the way through to create these three columns here. Okay. So that's just to kind of give you some examples of using the if clause and generating like tables like this. Okay, and you'll see different opportunities to do stuff like that. Let's see here. Now over here, I did like the merge and center here. So if you remember from the last class, we had this merge and center, which I clicked on. So I'm going to unclick it. And this is what it looked like before. Okay, so you can see the sales and you can see all of these here. Right? But really, you want to look at this whole table here, and you want to refer to the whole table under this title. So that's why you would highlight that, and then you would do a merge and center. Okay. So this is different types of data, basically sales data. So you have like the order date, the region, the rep who did it, what they sold, and whatnot. So we're going to do some stuff off of this in a little bit. Yeah, let's work with that for right now. Okay, so one thing I want to do, basically this leads to a couple of different things. So I'll highlight that. So let's say I want to see how many of the sales came from which region. So we have three regions. We have East, Central, and West. So East, Central, and West here. So there's a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to do it with a count. So I'm going to say equals count if, okay, and kind of gets cut off here. So let me open this up. It says count the number of cells within a range that meet a given condition, right? So first I want the range. So the range is over here, right? So I'm going to highlight all of these guys here to be the range, okay? So then what's the criteria? Well, the criteria I want for the first one is East. So let me put East. Actually, I don't even have to type in East. I can just click on this cell down here, which is East. And then I close that off. So it tells me 12. All right, so let me go back up to this formula. Count if, and you have this region. Right, I took that as the source. And then T3, which in this case is East. So instead of typing in or hard coding the East, I made it reference to this cell here. Okay, so let me see if I can drag this over then. Okay, well, so here, the reason why that didn't work is because when it was referring to this here, because of the relative reference, it basically went over to the M column. Right? So it went to this one. So actually, if I want this to work, I'm going to have to fix this column. I'm going to have to make it an absolute reference. So I'm going to put a $sign here. Okay. So that works for here, which you expect. But now let's see what happens when I drag it. And now that works. You can see here, the $L stays the same. So I keep the same column, this L column here, by putting the dollar in front of it. Okay, so that makes me able to drag this formula around, and I still refer to this column here to do all of my calculations off of. Okay, but this can move, right? So that's why I have East, Central, and West. I'm able to just adjust the cell reference using relative cell reference. Okay, and that's what you get here. Now there's another way you can do this also. So this is kind of doing it line by line, like what we were talking about before. So I can say if and we say East, Yeah, this guy up here again. So if it's equal to east, then I'm going to say, maybe let's set the value to be 1. Otherwise, I set it to be 0. Okay, so kind of similar to looking at the Boolean true or false, 1 and 0. We do that. Right, so in this case, this is a 1. That's true because of that. Okay, now remember, if I want to copy this down, but I'm making a comparison to this one here, which is not going to move, I'm going to have to make an absolute reference. So instead of fixing the column, now I want to fix the row. So I'm going to put $1 here. Okay. So you can see this. I'm fixing the row here so that when I copy it down, it's not going to change. But I'm okay with changing the column, which I'm going to do later when I move these guys over. So if I do this, and basically I've taken this formula and dragged it all the way down. So every time there's a column here that equals to east, you're going to say 1. Okay. And if I actually wanted to do it across both ways, let me go over to here. And then I'm going to drag it down. Oh, let me see what happened here. So here. Oh, okay. So same thing again. I forgot to fix on this side. So I fixed on this side, but I didn't fix on this side. So actually the same thing. I need to make sure this L doesn't change. Okay. So now I drag it over, and then I'm going to take it down, and I get what I expect. Right. So I'm making a comparison to the region column here, and I'm comparing it to this one now, and every time they match, I get a 1. Okay. I can drag this guy down. Right. So now what I can do after I got all of these, I can do a sum for each of these, and the sum of this will equal to all of this. So I'll just do one of them for here. So let me do a sum. I'll take it up to here. And you see I got 12. 12 here. Okay. So there's a couple ways to kind of generate this, but you get things like this because, you know, there's a lot of things you want to do in terms of what you would call a histogram. So a histogram would basically take account of all of these, which you have. So east, central, and west, and then you have 12, 15, and 3. Okay. So let's do something where we can kind of create a chart here. So I'm going to do an insert, and you can see all these charts here. Let's do a pie chart. So we'll do this one here. And then you're going to do select data. And let's take the chart data range, which should be 12, 5, and 3. Okay. And see here. Gonna do this. And we're going to call this region. That. So axis label range, we're going to select that. Okay. All right, so now you end up with this pie chart. You can see east, central, west. Now the other thing you can do, you can see all the different choices here. So let's play around with the different choices. Okay, so these are your chart styles here. Okay. Now the other thing you can do these little layouts here. So you can have the region, you can have all of these here color coded, and then you can put these percentages here. And you can play around all kinds of different ways. That's really up to you. So again, that's something that you'll be doing in your assignment, where you'll be able to play around with these, and you'll pick this and you'll pick this to kind of set up the chart however you want it to look. Okay, and in this case, we're doing this as a pie chart. I'm going to actually let me leave this on here. You can look at this when I upload it. The other thing I could do, I don't want this kind of sitting here. Maybe I want to move it to a different tab. So I'm going to do this move chart. And let me just create a new tab called region. Okay, so it moves it to a whole new tab and it has its own dedicated view of that chart. Okay, so I'm going to leave that in there for you guys as an example. And I'll leave that as a workspace here. So let me step into sorting here. So before we did sorting where you had like the data applied to it, and then you can kind of work off of that. We're going to kind of set this up like this. We're going to try to sort two columns instead of just sorting one. So by clicking on that, you'll have this option here where you can select both columns, right? So basically you can sort the first column and then you can do another sort within that with the second column. So let's say I do this. Okay. So that sorts the transport, right? It could be a boat, car, plane. Now let me come back to here. I'm going to add a level. Okay, now I want to do the first sort on this column, column L. Then I'm going to do another sort on column M. Okay, and then let's see what happens. And you can see this here. You can sort on the values, and then you can say A to Z. Obviously, you can flip it around the other way too. Okay. So there's an interesting thing here. You can see here, there's a mixture of letters and numbers here. So Excel will come up and says, sort the number, right? Like a number, right? Or you can break it out like this. Okay, so it gives you a little bit of option here when it sees this. So in this case, it just happens that the plane, we want to treat that as the name, right? As the text. It's not, it doesn't get broken out separately. So that's why I'm going to leave it like this. Okay. So you can see you have the sort at this level, and then you have the sort at the second level. Okay. So I'll leave that here, and I'll just make a note, sorting example. Okay. Let me move this over here to get not confusing. All right. So the next bit I want to show you is a VLOOKUP. So I think there were some questions from the last class on the VLOOKUP for the exact match versus like approximate match, how you would use it. So I'm going to demonstrate that here with this pizza promo discount, partially taken from the book. So you can see here, what I want to do is this number. I want to be able to punch in whatever number of pizzas. Okay, and then I want to be able to look over here where basically on the number of pizzas up to a certain level, I'll get like a certain discount. So 0 and 1 pizza, I don't get a discount. 2 and 3 pizza, I get a 5% discount, and so on and so forth here. Okay, so let me come over to here. I'm just going to put a 0 here for a second. and then I'm going to say equals, and then I'm going to do VLOOKUP. Okay, so the lookup value, I want to be able to punch in a value. So I don't want to have to keep on changing this formula. So I want to look this up for the number of pizzas. So that's why I'm going to click on here. Then I'm going to do the lookup on the table array, which is this over here. So I'm going to basically look at the number of pizzas, and then I also want to pull back what is the discount I get for that. Okay. So that's the table array. The next thing I need is a column index. So if this first column is 1, I mean, yeah, 1, then this is 2. So I'm going to put a 2. And if you remember from last class, if I just leave it like this, if I don't put in a true or a false, I just close the parens on this, it's going to default to be true, which is approximate match, which a lot of times that's not what you want. For VLOOKUP, you actually want the exact match, but this might be one case you want the approximate match. But let me demonstrate what the exact match means. So I'm going to go for exact match, and then I'm going to close paren. Oops, I missed it out there. So okay, so let's see what happens. I put in 0, no pizzas, no discount. If I put in 1, I get an NA, right? Because it basically did the VLOOKUP, it didn't find an exact match, and that's it. If I did a 2, I get a 5% discount, right? Because I found the 2 and I found the 5 here. So if I did 3 pizza, again, it doesn't find anything in here. And that's why I end up with an NA. If I go to 4, you get the 10% discount. Okay, so that's basically what the exact match is going to look like. Now let's change this, and let's make this to be true. Again, if I don't punch this in, Excel is going to default to be true, right? But let's make it true just so you can see it more clear. Okay, let's go back to 0 again. All right, so 0 and 0 is 1. I mean, that's fine. Now I put in 1, and it came back with 0. So this is how the approximate match works. It's going down this column right here, the pizza column, and it starts off with 0, and it goes to 2. So it goes to 2. It knows 2 is greater than 1, so it knows that there's no entry in this table for it. So what it does, it goes back to 0 and pulls out the value associated with 0, which in this case is 0. So if I go to 2, it's going to find it, and it's going to come back with a 5% discount. If I go to 3, it's going to not find it, and it's going to go back to what 2 is, which is a 5% discount. If I go up to 4, it does the same thing. It goes out to 10% discount. Right, let's go up to 8 really quick. So I go up to 8, so I get a 20% discount for that. So what would happen if I go to 9 then? If I go to 9, I'm basically out of range, right? Anything after 8, there's nothing, right? So I'm out of range for this table. So by going to 9, I'm going to come back with 0.2, okay? Or the discount. Actually, maybe I should just change this instead of saying it in point. I should make this percentage. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. I know there was people trying to understand the VLOOKUP, the difference between the true and the false for the exact matching. So I'm going to save this sheet, and I'm going to upload this into my lectures area exactly like this, so you can play around with it. Okay. And let's go back to here. So now, this is a certain type of data which falls into something that's very typical for Excel in terms of graphing. So a lot of times people might be using Excel to look at financials period over period. So in this case, a year over year, right? 2015, 16, and 17. And there's various categories. So over here on the left, it might be like your gross revenue, and you might have some costs associated with it. And then you have like some total here, and then it kind of shows you year over year where your revenues are going, where your costs are going, and whatnot. Here, I basically set this to be rainfall and snow, right? But it could be anything. So this is like so common, it's, such that when I do an insert for Excel, I can go into recommended charts here, and basically it automatically comes back with a standard chart that I would recommend you to use. That's pretty, like I said, this is a pretty common use of Excel. So when you do the recommended, it just comes back right away and it knows what to do. Right? So it knows to label these as rainfall and snow. It knows to set up these as 2015, 16, and 17. And it knows to spread these values out just like so on the left. I mean, really, the only thing you have to do is come up with a chart title. Okay, just like that. Right, so this one's pretty easy, pretty standard for Excel. So when you go into recommend it, it'll just come up with that. But you can still play around with it if you want, right? You can go in here, same thing, play around with these different chart styles. And then you can also go into here with the layouts. Right? You just roll over and you'll see like all the different ways you can associate these. Okay, let me go to that, let's say. Right, and then you can do things where, again, you go back to select data, and you can play around with these. If you want to rename these, you know, whatever you want to do, you can switch the rows and columns, let's say. That's fine. The other thing you can do, just like I did before, you can do the move chart, and I can do a precipitation tab. Just like so. And there you go. So there's another tab here. And again, you can play around with this as much as you want. That's pretty straightforward here. Okay. So I think that, you know, hits on a lot of different things. Let me go back to the PowerPoint or the PDF. Let's see if I covered everything just to double check. Make sure that I hit on everything here. So we did the charts, we did some formatting, yeah, dollar signs, percentages, we did the merging, we did sorting here. Okay, we did the sorting on different columns here. Formatting, I can go back and do that. But basically you just select on it and then you can have all these different choices to format it in different ways. Relative versus absolute, functions, formulas. I think last class I kind of popped into the formulas. You can select on that, or maybe I did on the recorded lecture there. If functions, yeah, some of the statistics functions I'm gonna pick up in the next lecture. We have wildcard searches. I think I covered that in the recorded lecture. But the wildcards, you can see here where it says, you remember we did the count if, this is Vine, right? So it's not just looking for Vine, but it looks for anything starting with Vine. That's what happens when you put a star sign in there. There's something that's not in here, but it was covered in the book. There's something that's doing something similar where you look for a particular wildcard within the character, would be like a percentage sign. So let's say, you know, you wanted to, not really a great example, but let's say you wanted to have anything that looks like Vine, but you put a percentage sign where the V is. So it'll pick up anything that looks like a INE, and then that one character could be like your wild card. Okay. By putting the star, you kind of pick up a lot of different things. It could be like Vine with a 1 here, or it could be like a Vine with 111. So the percentage sign gives you a little bit more control over a particular space on whether you want to use a wildcard or not. It's not really a big deal one way or the other. I don't think that's a major point of this lecture or the Excel functionality to know. VLOOKUP, like I said, is kind of important. That's a very common function that's used. So I'm probably going to do a couple more examples of that for next class too. Yeah, so you can see kind of similar to what I was doing with the pizza discount. They were using this VLOOKUP where you punch in the item number and then it looks through this whole table to find that item number and come back with the name. Okay, so that's similar type of usage that you'll see a lot of if you look at a lot of spreadsheets. Okay, so one thing I didn't do was the PMT function, but that's fine. Let me just talk it through here. Okay, so I did the PMT function. I did run through this example in the recorded lecture too. The PMT function, the main thing you want to watch out for is to make sure it's in the same units. What I mean by the same units is you can see 10% for the interest rate, 30 for the number of periods, and then the principal is basically 16,000. Okay, and then you can see the function here equals to PMT, D2, which is the percentage interest rate. You can see it divides by 12. Right, and that's because each of the payments are done per month. Okay, so once you know the payments are like paid on a monthly basis, you have to convert the interest rate to equal to month. When you look at this interest rate like this, it's an annual number. So that's why you have to do this D2 divided by 12. Okay, and then all these others are just basically the same thing as you saw in JavaScript, inputs into the function, right? So the D3 is going to be the total number of payments, and then the D4 is your principal. And then what gets returned is this payment. This is the payment that you expect to pay every month. And it makes it red and it puts little parentheses around it to indicate this is a negative cash flow you're going to be paying out with this. Okay, so that pretty much covers the highlights for this section for introduction to Excel. Like I said, for next week, we're going to pick up on some more of the advanced stuff with the pivot tables. We'll do some more VLOOKUPs, and any other questions you guys might have, just fire them over to me, and I'll try to incorporate that into next week's lectures. Okay. So with that, unless there's questions, actually, I'll open up. Does anyone have questions? Okay, let me see here. I'm scrolling through the chat here. So give me 1 second here as I go through the chat, see what questions came up. So yeah, quiz 18. I'll have to go back and double check on that, see where that chapter 18 quiz is. It might not be active yet. Let me see here. So the recitation project hasn't been posted yet. It's actually sitting out there. It's ready. But when I looked at the when I looked at the schedule, it looks like the assignment doesn't get posted for a little bit. I think a couple of days it's supposed to get posted. So when it gets posted, I'll send out an announcement for the assignment to get posted for the recitation. So math symbols versus spreadsheet symbols. Trying to think. I have to think like what's the difference between math symbols and spreadsheet symbols. I don't know if there's much of a difference there. The Canvas quizzes. So I think the ones I set up, you can have multiple tries. The one that was set up as a practice for exam 2, we tried to set it up to simulate like what the real exam would be. So the real exam, you're not going to be able to retry those questions. Like once you answer the question, you move on. That's it. You can't go back to that question again. So the practice exam, I think, is trying to simulate what it's really going to be like for the exam. But I would suggest that maybe as you guys go through it, maybe you want to take some notes. If there's some particular questions that you get stuck on, that you don't know what the answer is, or you need some help on that, just let me know or let your TAs know. We can cover that. Okay. I'll double check on the math symbols versus spreadsheet symbols. I'm not really sure. Are there specific spreadsheet symbols? Okay, but I'll double check on that. Okay, but like I said, we're here to help you guys succeed. I know this situation is a little bit disruptive. So when you see things where you think you need to get some answers, I think all of us are pretty responsive on Piazza or the announcement. So you put something out there, we'll jump on it right away to try to get you answers. And we're really trying to make sure that we need to have, WebEx hours available for people. Okay. So having the Excel program for the exam, I think if you look at the exam being online, we're basically going to give you the 24 hours to do it. You're basically going to use whatever is available to you. It's almost essentially like an open book exam, right? So if there are certain things that you don't remember off the top of your head on how to do in Excel, yeah, you can just run the Excel. So yeah, is Excel available to you for the exam? Yeah, I mean, if you go through like the Rutgers setup, Rutgers has a standard Excel setup that you can run that. You don't even have to have Excel local to your desktop. So that's fine. That's available to you. If you have a problem like trying to run that, it's similar to when you guys are running stuff with Outlook or whatever off of the Rutgers infrastructure that's available to you. But if you have a problem with that, just let us know and we'll kind of walk you through that. Let me answer a couple questions here. Is there a time limit on the exam? So there's a couple ways that there's a time limit. Number one, once the exam opens up, there's going to be 24 hours for you to do the exam. So in that way, there's a time limit. Now, within each section, once you start it, there's sort of like a time limit. So the reason why it's structured like that is because there are some people that is in different time zones, right? We have people like that went to wherever, right? They went to India, they went to wherever all around the world. So we want to give people the time. They don't actually have to come to a lecture at this time. They should be able to look at the recordings. Doing the exam, like we want to give 24 hours to give everyone a shot at getting to the exam during their normal time or during their waking hours, I guess. So that's one thing. But once you start the exam, right, whichever time zone you happen to be in, once you start the exam, like especially at the beginning part where you have like the multiple choice or the short answers, there is time limit around that, right? I don't remember exactly what the time limit is. I'll have to go back and look it up later. But there is like a certain degree of time limit to it. And I'm trying to think, did we set the time limit for the hour or not? So I need to confirm that, right? For sure, there's going to be one for the final exam when that's set up. And then, you know, towards the end of the exam where you kind of do some HTML and whatnot, and then you're going to upload that. Yeah, so that in particular doesn't really have a time limit, but you know, like I said, the overall exam has a 24-hour time limit. Okay. So I'll clarify a couple of things on that for you, and I'll post that back out to announcements. Is it harder? Is the exam harder because it's open book? Well, it's not easy. You know, there are some things that's very easy for you to just Google and look it up very quickly. So I don't know if you're going to get too many of those slam dunk type of questions, right? There's going to be, the question is going to be a little bit more for understanding. So it's not just a straight like definition where you kind of look at it and then say, okay, I can Google this and come up with the definition and then stick that in there, right? But, you know, I don't think we want to get into like tricky questions, like trick questions, gotchas, because with a lot of these different things, especially when you look at things like global versus local variables, you look at like some funky things you could do with the arrays. You know, hopefully we're not going to be in a situation where we're trying to trip you up. You know, so, you know, I think we're trying to, you know, stay, you know, fairly, I mean, just for example, you look at the 2D arrays, right? You know, we can get into all kinds of sort of advanced type of stuff off of like arrays or, you know, how you look at variables, how you look at function calls. We're not going to do that, right? I don't think we're going to try to make the exam harder in that way. But then if you don't do it that way, then you do have to put some sort of time constraint around it. Okay. So hopefully that answered that questions. How many exams are in the question? I think that's listed in the homepage announcement, but I'll double check on that. In terms of how is the exam being monitored, I wouldn't say it's monitored. Well, as I said, we're going to post out a sheet where each of the instructors or TAs are going to have allocations for a couple hours or an hour with you know, WebEx available. And then if you have questions, if there's a question you come up with that you're not clear on, that you'll be able to reach out to us on WebEx. So that's how we're going to proctor the exam. Okay. The Excel material is not on exam 2. The Excel material is on the final exam. Okay. All right. So I know I ran over this session here, but hopefully I've answered most of your questions. If I haven't, feel free to send me an email or Piazza, whatever, and we'll get it out there. Okay. So I know some people want to stay on to do some stuff one-on-one. You can do that. Everyone else, you guys are good to go. Okay. Xavier, I think you wanted to cover your assignment 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I don't know if it's easier for you to like email your code or you want to share your screen and kind of highlight where you're having a problem at.
I can just share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Okay. Yep. Got it.
My main issue is just getting this calculate total button to work.
Okay. Um, so what happens right now when you hit the button?
And nothing. Nothing pops up.
Hmm. Okay. So let me see what you're doing here. You're you're setting the cost. Uh, okay. So like right now, if like where it says the vars, you have those 3 vars there, like right after that, if you do like a document write or you do like a alert, whichever way you want to do it, like does it get there?
Um, like if I put an alert like down here.
Yeah, you could put it there, you could put it after the vars, doesn't matter. I assume it at least gets there, right? So you get there and you do an alert, let's say on the cost. I assume that works, right?
Um, it hasn't been alerting. I've tried that. It just for some reason it's been when I open like the inspect thing, it's been telling me that there's like a like an unexpected token, and it's like one of these for some reason.
Okay. So why don't you do this? Why don't you comment out uh, like where the bottom part? Let's just see that you can do on click and then you can show the alert. So the other stuff might be causing some sort of syntax error because of like, something's undeclared. You're referring something that's undeclared, or you have some sort of syntax error. So, you can comment it out or you can just like copy it to your buffer or something like that. So take out everything except for where it says the vars. So
Okay,
at
so
least that,
all this stuff.
yeah, you can take all that out. So if you do that, it should work, right? There's nothing else except variable declaration and alert.
Yeah, let me see if that works. Okay.
All right, so try running that.
Okay, it does give me a number there, so it must be the if stuff that's
Yeah.
tripping it up.
So at least we're narrowing down where the problem may be. So let's go ahead and paste that back in. Let's see what you have in there. All right. So if use card, where's your use card variable declared?
Up here.
Okay. I can't tell if that's
Should I try to declare it down here?
yeah, try declaring it down there. Okay. So let me see here. So if you use card equals to yes. Now where
Oh,
where are
hold
you
on.
where are you setting use card at?
Up here in the radio buttons. So if on click use card equals no, on click use card equals yes.
Oh, okay. On your use cards there, you're doing double equals. That's for comparison. For assignment, you only use one equals.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
But if you have a variable declaration issue, that's probably not going to be it anyway. So, okay, so you have used car comparison, fine. Oh, no, that's a double equal, right? Because that's your comparison, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So equals to yes. Total cost greater than equal number equals. Um, I think you should have an open curly brace after that if statement.
Right here.
Yes. And then close it off just before the else. Right. So
Okay.
that's your if statement. Then you have your else. Then you have another open curly brace. Okay. Um, and then you want to close that off because that bottom curly brace is to close off the top if.
Okay. So
Right. So
close it
you
off
kind of
right
nested,
there.
you've nested your if statements, right?
Yeah.
Uh, no, so after the semicolon, yeah. Okay, so you can see how your curly braces match up there, right? So you
Yeah.
have, yeah, okay. And then at the bottom where it says if used car equals to no,
Yep.
can you do curly braces around that too?
Yeah. That's the reason I was trying it out because it was telling me that there was an unexpected token and it was these curly brackets. So I tried to delete all the curly brackets and it didn't work.
Mhm. Okay, try this, see what happens.
It says unexpected token.
Hmm. Okay, so var use card. Okay, so let's try to narrow this down again. Um, let's make this simple. Let's just take out the big if else, the nested if else, and just leave the use card equals to no. Yeah, so just take out that middle section there. Okay,
Yep.
take that out, and then let's run it with just that if use card equals to no. See what happens. Maybe it doesn't find the total cost and total owed.
It it alerts the cost. So that means that
Yeah, that's good.
the cost is working. Let me see if I can alert the tip amount and see if that's working.
Okay.
Yeah, the tip amount works. And let's see if it's doing the total cost. It alerts the total cost too, so I think it's just the if statement from before.
Okay. So let's put that if statement back in. Okay. So let's see what we have there. All right. Is your card balance 2? Is that
It's up here, and it's with the like math floor function one.
okay? And going back down to the bottom again, is what's that RMB balance? REM balance?
Oh, that I didn't declare that. Jeez. Okay. Let's see if I declare it. Let's see if that works. It still says unexpected token.
Hmm. Okay. See if there's any others in here. Where's your total owed?
Total owed. That's another one.
Okay. Total cost number. Oh, why do you have like equals?
Here,
No, the next line.
this one.
Yeah. What is that equals for?
So it's the total cost minus the card balance equals the total owed.
Okay, so that should be the other way around then, right?
Yeah.
You do an assignment, right? It goes from the right to your left. Yes. So you take out,
I don't need the value, right?
uh, so total value, is that a text box in your HTML or?
I'm trying to get the total owed to display down here at the bottom.
Okay, so it's just a regular variable. So that's fine. So you don't need the value.
I can
Right?
delete
So that's
it
equal to, and then you take out the back end there. And then you did the same thing further down. Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Okay. And then uh, total owed value equals 0 is just 0, right? Just, yeah, total owed equals to 0.
Okay, let me see if this works. Still unexpected token.
Hmm. Okay. Let me, card balance 2. Is that a text box or a regular variable?
That's in this text box. It's a dot value up here.
Okay. All right. So that's fine. Go back down again. Mhm. On your if statement, uh, where it says total cost,
This
I'm
one?
only counting. I'm counting 2 open paren, but only 1 closed paren.
I think the close is down here.
No, but for your if statement, that should all be balanced on your parens. Your paren for your if statement doesn't go all the way down to the bottom.
This one?
So go back up to where it says total cost greater than or equal to number.
Yep.
You need to close off the paren there.
This one?
Yeah.
Isn't it already closed off right there?
No. because you're doing the number function, right? So the number function
Oh,
has,
you're right.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see if that does anything. Something little like that can go a long way.
Yep.
Okay, it's working. Now I just have to get it to display in the box.
Okay.
So let's see. Maybe if I put a 2 at the end like I did last time, it'll work. Because that's the same issue I had with this one.
Hmm.
Let's see if I put a 2, will it work? Nothing.
Hmm. So here, um, here you want to say, you can leave the 2, that's fine. Um, here, now I think you want to do total O2 dot value, right? Because that's what I was asking before. Is it a text box or is it a regular variable?
Yeah, it's
And I
going to
don't
the
know.
text box.
Yeah, so on the text here where you're typing value, don't put it there. Like close that back up. You just want to name that as the ID. Where you have like
Right here.
you're on, yeah, over there, put the values. That's where you're setting it. Yep.
And then right here.
Yes.
And then that one already has it. Should
No,
I?
that one it's flipped around. It's flipped the other way, right? You want the total auto value on the left side,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
I deleted something. So I deleted. Okay, let's see. Doesn't display anything.
Hmm.
I'm gonna take out the alerts from these 3 because they keep popping
They're
up.
working. Yeah.
Yeah.
So forget about any of the if clauses. Just outside the if clause, can you just do an assignment, do total O2 dot value equals to whatever, 123 or something?
Like that.
Yep, that's fine.
See if that goes in the box.
Yep.
That pops in the box.
Okay. So what that means is your if statement is where the problem is, right? So your use card is neither yes or no.
Okay. So does that mean I made something went wrong up here?
Um, yes. Yes, I think you need to look at that. So I think you pretty much got it there. You just need to figure out how to set the use card um, equals to yes or no.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. Those look right to me.
Where did you declare use card?
Up here in the script.
Hmm. So here's what you might want to do. So uh,
Try to declare it in here.
no, you declare there, you're still gonna lose it. Um, just to kind of just get this to work for now. I don't think you want to submit it that way, but just like at the bottom where you have the whatever that total owed or whatever, just declare that same thing, right? But declare the ID equals to use card. No, at the bottom, go further down where it says input text, right? You can
Yeah,
just
right here.
copy, yeah, copy that whole thing and create like another one of those. You don't have to make it read only, right? So just declare the whole thing
One of
and
those.
then set the ID to use card. And then it kind of doesn't matter read only or not, just leave it, that's fine. So now when you go back up to the top where you assign the use card dot value.
Right there. Value.
Yeah, dot value. And then dot value. And then at the bottom, where you're doing the comparisons, put in use card dot value.
This one or these ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Should I try to run that?
Yeah, try running that.
It says it cannot set property value of undefined. On line 60. It says it can't set property value to the undefined like yes thing.
Hmm.
Should I declare it as value here too?
Oh yeah, take out that that var use card there.
Try to run it again.
Take out the one up top too. The one that you declared in your scripts. Yeah. All right, try that.
Okay. Now it displayed the yes in the box. So then, okay. I think it did it.
Okay.
Hold on. Do I still have the 1, 2, 3 in the bottom? Yeah.
Yes.
If I delete this, maybe it'll work.
Okay.
Let's see. There we go. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I don't suggest you turn in the assignment with the text ID use card like this. This is just a hack to kind of get this to work. You should declare the variable properly to pass it all the way through. But I think for now, at least this gives you working code. I think it's just a small change to set up the variable properly.
So where should I set up? Where should I define this variable here? Or
No. Um, let me come back to you on that. I'll send you an email a little bit later. I'll try to come up with like a little bit of an example of how to set the variable and then pass it through each of the HTML elements because you're going through a radio box and then you're going down to this button click here and then you're processing it. So it's sort of like a global variable that we need to set for your HTML. So I'll come up with an example and I'll send it to you on email.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. So I see a few other people hanging around. Do you have questions I can answer? Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, so the total sales calc, that text box, you're able to populate it from the radio button, so you know that works.
Yeah.
So where it says the total sales calc dot value, you're saying that doesn't get set?
Yeah, it doesn't like when I try to run it, like I tried to click the calculate total button, but it doesn't work. I mean, right
When you
now it
say
does. It shows
you
the
say it
text
doesn't
box.
work, when you hit that button, what happens? The button doesn't hit the alert boxes or anything?
It doesn't. It doesn't do anything.
Okay, so then that's where the problem is. You're not firing off that event. So can you go back there again?
Yeah.
So so your button type submit ID total sales.
Is it because the alert? Or,
The alert wouldn't have anything to do with it.
yeah.
Um, I'm just trying to look at the button. Instead of using submit, can you use button?
Yeah. Aren't they the same thing?
Yeah, I think there's a slight difference, but
Okay.
yeah, just try the button for now. Did anything happen?
Yeah, I mean, when I click on the radio button for the tip, it displays in the text box. That's basically it.
Yeah, so the radio button, that's fine. So it looks like you're getting past there.
Yeah.
But the submit button,
Yeah, that's not doing anything.
okay, so go back to that code again. Let me see here. So input type equals to button. Uh, value equals on click. Oh, wait, on click, where's your equals?
Oh, wait. Oh,
I didn't even catch that. So you should have an equals, right?
yeah.
Okay. And I think there's a close quote I see, right? I think that's a close quote at the bottom, I think I see there. You have the open quote for your on click. Okay. Yeah, try that.
It didn't do anything.
Okay. Um, do me a favor and just take you can comment out all of that code in there and just where it says the on click equals to, just put like a, whatever dummy thing in there, put like a alert, like a dummy alert in there. And then put your close quote and your greater than sign. Yeah, just do it all in one line there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so do on click equals, don't put a space there, put a quote. Like move your quote back. After the on click. So on click, yeah, equals, no space, put a quote there. Back up one more. Yeah. You got a double quote there? I'm hard to see on your screen there.
Yeah, I have a double quote.
Yeah. Okay. And then it looks like you got something else after that. You have two quotes there?
Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of one of them. Now put alert, open paren, like, single quote, dummy, close quote, close paren, and then close double quote, and then the greater than sign. Greater than sign, right? And then take out all of that other code below it. Let's just see if we can get a button to work. That includes that little quote and greater than sign there too. Okay, try to run this. Let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, it says this. It says dummy.
Okay, so at least that works now. So now let's try to put things back in one bit at a time. So go to where it says the alert dummy. You can clear that out. And just right from there, put in like var. Oh, you lost a double quote there. Okay, yeah, go to the next line. Put in like your var, whatever. Actually, you know what? Here,
I'll just delete that.
yeah, okay, do that. And then right below that, put in your double quote and your greater than sign.
You mean over there? I have it.
Yeah, you got that, right? Okay, let's run this.
Should I delete the rest of it? Just have the var total cost.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, you want the total sales cost, right? So do the total, like where it says total. Okay, that's fine. Take out all of the. Let's just run like this, all right? Yeah, go ahead and just run this.
It's not working.
All right, so go back. So, you know, you got to strip out all those lines. You got to put in one by one. Obviously, when you had it before, when we had it to just like the on click, it was working, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to put this in one by one. Um, so go back to what we had before. Put in the like put in like the on click. You have that, and then put in like the close quote and the greater than sign right there, right next to the on click. Yeah, so take it all back up to there because that's the last thing that you had working, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so take all of this code out and take out that greater than bottom quote and greater than sign there. Okay, and to where it says on click, like where the double quote is, just put in like that one line, just right there. Yeah, put it there. Okay. I know it's like stretched out the one line, but just do that for now. Let's just get this one part working. If that's not working, then there's something wrong with the variables that you're using.
Yeah. It's not working.
Okay, so it's definitely something in there. That's why things are screwed up, right? So what I would suggest if you can just really break it down, like put in just one variable at a time, put it into an alert box. If it's not working, then it's a problem with that variable. So what I would suggest, um, where it says the on click there, you do the alert. Remember we put the alert for dummy before?
Yeah.
Put the alert and stick in each one of these variables one at a time so you can narrow down what the issue is, right? Probably what's happening is that there's something messed up with one of those variables, and that's breaking the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So why don't you go off and try and do that, and then we can pick it up in another WebEx or another email exchange a little bit later on tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Cool. All right. Thank you.